Hey everybody, how you doing? We have Jeremy Miner with us here today. How you doing?
Chilling like a villain.
Yeah?
How you doing?
I'm chilling too. Yeah, we're actually here at SolarCon right now, live at SolarCon. Right over here, Jeremy has brought something with him for the very first time. It's the very first conference, solar conference, right?
Yeah, very first time for me speaking with you. We've never really done like a trade show, like a booth type of thing before. So yeah, it's good. My team got on this all cool branded stuff. I showed up and like, wow, there's like a buy board here. There's like all this stuff here. So it's been fun. Brought about 8 or 9 of our guys and been having fun doing a little sales training for some of the people walking around. So it's been
Doing sales training here.
We're sponsored by Board now.
Okay.
You know, the company I do a bunch of my reels on.
Yeah.
So their CMO started following me like 6 months ago and then emailed like, hey, doing a lot of reels on our Vibe boards. Like, you want to work out a partnership agreement? So they now sponsor our podcast. So it's a great company.
That's legit. I did not know that. But
So they shipped one in for me.
for the viewers here today, how did they get one? No,
Vibeboard.com, I'm not sure. So it's a great company. You know, if you want to write something down for your executives or marketing training or sales training, it stores all of it. It's like you can just use it over and over. I love it for training because I can train on something. Let's say I'm training a client on a virtual event or whatever a year ago, and I save it, right? I can come back to that a year later and be like, you know what, I'm going to train that to this company as well, and I'm just going to shift it around a little bit, and 10 minutes later I'm done. Whereas, you know, the old primitive whiteboard days, you have to erase everything and then redo it. I'm just like, oh man.
Yeah, that's right.
Stone ages.
Well, yeah, I had a deeper question for you about sales. Can I jump into that? I talk with people all the time about sales, and I tell them they have to learn a lot of technical things, right? You have to have product knowledge. It's tough for me to say. What are your thoughts on that?
Product knowledge? I mean, I think you need to understand it. To me, like any industry, I sold in 4 industries before I retired and started Seven Bubble. And what I'd always go in and ask the VP of sales or whatever, I was like, okay, I want to know what the prospects' problems are. So with your salespeople, what are the prospects' problems that they have? So if I know what the problems are, and then I would always ask them, what are the consequences if the prospect doesn't solve those?
Okay.
And then how does my solution solve that? So once I understood those 3 things, it was easy for me to write questions around that structure. That's where I developed NEPQ from my behavioral science background from school as well. And so to me, it's more about like, you know, for solar, for example, I'm not selling them on going solar. I'm not selling them on, you know, I'm not selling solar panels. I'm selling the results of what solar does for them, right? I might be selling I'm protecting them from the rate hikes from the car companies. I'm selling them on a locked in rate, maybe a lower bill, and eventually not having a bill. See, I'm selling the results of what solar does, not solar itself.
I love that.
Yeah.
It seems that you get very technical on the emotional aspect of the sale. You have actually learned how to break down the emotion, how to invoke an emotion out of someone. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So behavioral science really, if it give you kind of an overview, I won't get scientific here, like important stuff, but it's really the study of how your brain makes decisions. Like, why do you do what you do? Why do you say no? Why do you say yes? Like, what triggers that reaction? So if you start to understand what triggers a prospect to go into fight or flight mode. So like, let's say if you're knocking on the doors and you sound like everybody else. So you say like, hey, how are you doing today? Oh, good. Hey, are you the homeowner here? Okay, good. Well, hey, the reason why I'm out here, I'm with XYZ company and like the prospect's not even hearing you because you sound like everybody else.
Right.
And so you sound like the guy who sells pest control. You sound like the guy who sells alarms, the other people that sell solar, HVAC,
Walking into the Gap store.
You literally sound like everybody. So what you just did is you triggered what are called defensive mechanisms in the prospect's brain, where anytime we feel like we're being sold to, our guard goes up. So like our guard goes up and we go surface level and we try to get rid of people. We don't protect ourselves, right? So if I can learn on the flip side how to interrupt that pattern. So like pattern interrupts. That's what I had to learn the hard way when I started off selling home security systems, like you're talking like 22 years ago. That was my first job.
I remember you.
Right? So I had to learn like, hey, I can't sound like everybody else, you know? So I learned how to interrupt that pattern just by, you know, changing my tonality. And, you know, a lot of times I'll talk about a confused tone and people are like, well, you shouldn't be confused. You got to show them the expert. I'm like, I totally agree with you. You're not saying like, oh, I'm confused on how it works. But in certain context, a confused tone actually triggers curiosity. So if I knock on the door, rather than saying, hey, how you doing today? Are you the homeowner? Because sound like everybody else. I'm going to knock on the door, stand to the side, And as they come to the door, I'd always have this pen. I'm like, yeah, are you? And I have this metal clipboard here. I'd have like a construction vest. I didn't even look like a salesperson. I literally didn't even think I was a salesperson. After the door, they come and I'm like, yeah, are you the homeowners here? And they're like, yeah, we're the homeowners. What's going on?
I leaned in too. I was like,
yeah, I leaned in right there with that kind of concerned, confused tone triggers curiosity. It's a pattern route, right? Just examples like that. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that takes an analytical mind to be able to, is it analytical? Empathetic. I'm going to say empathetic mind to be able to recognize that type of emotion and then learn how to construct it.
Well, the two biggest emotional drivers that cause a human being to want to change, because all selling is change. That's really all it is. The two biggest emotional drivers that cause a human being to want to change are pain and the fear of future pain. So if I can't help the prospect relive their pain of their situation, which most of them don't even know they have pain yet, and I can't help them see that there's future pain coming, they feel no need to change. And if they feel no need to change, that's why you get tons of objections, and that's why they don't buy.
So you're saying pain is the motivator?
Pain or lack of future pain.
So you're bringing the solution.
I want them to feel pain. If I can't help a prospect feel pain or have a fear of future pain, they feel no need to change. And if they feel no need to change, that's why they don't buy.
Well, that's saying that pain is the only indicator of, or that's the only thing that's going to make people move, right? That's
yeah. You break your leg, you're like, you want to get it solved real quick, right?
Yeah.
Now, the problem is that human beings don't like change. So all selling is change, yet human beings don't like change, even though we say we do. And here's why. So repeated human behavior shows that we value something that is more familiar to us, even if we don't like it that much, over something that is new, something that is foreign to us. Well, think about power company. It's familiar to them, even though they don't like it that much. But what you're offering solar is something unknown, something more foreign to them. So they're afraid of that change. So as a salesperson, it's your job to help the prospect in their mind start to view that by changing their situation, so for your industry, like going solar is far less risky for them doing nothing at all, staying in the status quo, and nothing ever changes. Like, which is more risky?
Beautiful question.
There you go. Right? Which is more risky, right?
So you say that, pain is what motivates change.
Yeah.
But what if there's other people out there that say, well, why not take the optimistic approach? Is that what you were talking about earlier, where you say you sound like everybody else? Hey, how's it going? It's nice to meet you. I'm here to
just look like you sound like a salesperson. So you're instantly triggering fight or flight mode.
Interesting.
Yeah. You've heard of fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
But anybody ever taught you what triggers it, what causes it?
Well, fear.
Well, but nobody. But what causes fear? Is it the prospect or is it the salesperson? When I got into door to door when I was 21, I'm studying behavioral science in college, so I was like learning all this stuff. So it fascinated me, and I'm like, all the salespeople like, you got to knock on 100 doors, talk to 30 people to make a sale, and I'm like, well, but why? I've always questioned that, but why? But I don't understand. Like, they're the ones that have the problems. I have the solution to solve it.
I love how you have to understand things.
Yeah, I have to understand everything. If I don't understand, I'm like, well, why? I just don't accept somebody because they
just
help
being
me
what it is. Yeah,
just being what it is. So I'm like, well, why? I don't understand. So I just dove deep into the subject, and I'm like, okay, when I'm knocking on the door, I found out the hardest the first week because I heard how to make these sales. I'm like, I sound like everybody else. So I just started putting two and two together. Like, I'm triggering this reaction. Like, I could tell by their tonality, I could tell by their body language that their guard was up. But I'm like, well, what triggered that? Not like, my prospect sucked, but I'm like, what did I say? What did I not ask that caused them to react that way? Right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go deep and what, how am I using my tone? So I just things like that. So once you start to break it down and you understand, like, there's certain words you use that trigger that, or maybe the way you're standing, or, just your tonality. Most of it's your tone. And you start to eliminate that stuff. By default, you just make way more sales than everybody else. So I just, I was fascinated by the subject, and I wanted to figure it out ever since I was 21.
Since you took that behavioral science?
That definitely helped for sure. It's more theory. They don't teach you you know what? You're going to ask this question, and if they say this, you want to use more of a concerned tone to get them to let them. They don't teach that, right? They teach
life experience.
Yeah,
brings
studies. Yeah,
I gotcha. So, would you say that you have always loved sales, or did you have to learn to love them? Did you learn to love them after you went through these courses and understood the power it might have?
I'd never grew up, I played college baseball, and then I served a mission for the LDS Church, moved out here to Utah, and I got engaged really quick and got married and had a kid on the way. And I'm like, okay, I can't play baseball anymore. I've got to make money. That's how it all started.
That sounds fast.
Yeah, I was like 21 and a half, like almost 22, probably almost 22. Went to a recruiting meeting, everybody got hired, door to door, shipped out to Boise, Idaho 2 months later, newly married, got a kid coming on the way. And I'm like, I got to make money.
Yeah.
Right? And I just kind of it was like plan A, like burn the bridge, like I have to learn how to do this. And so, it took a while, but, it all worked out.
It looks like it did. Good job. I'm learning here today on this podcast.
Hey, me too. I'm learning every day.
Yeah. If people want to bring in solar, if they want to bring the technical aspect into, let's say, the closing part, it sounds to me like you're talking quite a bit about setting. Is that fair to say?
When you say technical part, what do you mean? Like a presentation?
How technical do we have to get with the sell as far as like, when you were selling home security, do we have to talk about those motion detectors and how much infrared, the hertz that ran at?
Yeah, because you'd lose most people. It's just, nobody buys anything because of the features on it, right? You buy it because of the results it does for you. So I didn't really know how the security systems worked, but I knew it protected them from intruders breaking in. And I got to the visual, so if an intruder broke in the backyard, what part of the back do you feel like they would break in the most? And I get them to visually think it, right? Because the security system protects them from that happening. I didn't really know how the infrared stuff worked. I didn't really care. So I'm like, okay, so when they walk in, when you're gone, the motion detector is actually going to trigger that. It's automatically going to call the police. You're going to get notified on your phone. That's all I would say. That's all I needed to say.
That's all I want to know.
That's all I want to know.
As a consumer?
Yeah, because most salespeople get so technical. They think they need to blah, 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 blah. Like some magical word they're going to say is going to cause a prospect to buy. And all that does is trigger more objections. Because then like, well, what about my cat setting off? Or like, they just oversell it. And
that was a true thing, though. That was, right?
Yeah.
Hey, so you work in several industries. I don't want to say influence, you educate a lot of people.
61 industries, right?
161.
Yeah. Solar's a big one, though. It's one of our top 10.
So you have your top ones, you have the ones that bring the most revenue. What's the one that's kind of like the most like edgy, the most fun?
Geez, I've never been asked that question. I'm going to piss a lot of people off if I don't give their industry.
We have to be neutral on this? Yeah, all industries, that's like all of them.
So, what's the most edgy, the most fun? I think the ones that are the most edgy and the most fun, or like newer ones that, we get into, and like I have to learn it a little bit. Not the technical stuff. I just have to learn what are the problems that, the prospects have, what are the consequences they don't get solved, how does the solution solve it? And then we write out, connection questions for it to get them to let their guard down. We write out situation questions to help them find out what the real situation is. How do we build the gap? We learn how to ask problem awareness questions. So it's the same for everyone.
Of course that's your answer, because you already just told me that you love to understand how things work.
I do.
And so the new ones are more edgy and fun.
That's more fun, yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
Like ExxonMobil, we trained 4 of their divisions as a client. That was fun when I first did like a virtual event for them, and then we started training 4 of their divisions. And that was just a new, that industry, like gas and oil type of thing, was just a new industry. So it was very fascinating.
To me, it sounds like you really care, and here's why. You get a lot of sales trainers out there that go out and they train beautiful stuff. I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
But it's very general information.
Yeah.
You just told us that you love to learn new things and what the problems are, and rather than give a general training on sales, you love to get in the niche of it. And why is that?
Because when I was a salesperson setting an audience, and sales trainers would come in and they'd talk about goal setting, you got to be motivated, you got to get thick skin. I'm like sitting there like, dude, we already know all that. We want to know what to say. We want to know what to ask. We want to know how to use our tone. We want to know how to use our body language. We want to know how to overcome objections. And so it always piss all of us off, because we're just like, it's just vague stuff. Like, we already know how to set goals. That's why we're here. We already know how to be motivated. We just want the skill level. And so to me, like, I'm always fascinated. Like, when I do a keynote or anything like I'm about to do for you, you're going to notice that about 60 to 70% of it is industry specific to your industry. And when I do that, the organizer comes like, wow, like, we've never had a sales trainer that understands our industry like you do. I'm like, well, that's what you're paying me for. Why would you want to pay me
professional
just to come in and set goals and motivation? Like, I can get somebody up the street to do that. That's just basic stuff in my mind, To me, it's so basic. I'm just like a driven person. I won't tell you I'm driven. I'm like, I just kind of sit back and just analyze, and then I just do my thing, right? But it's fascinating to me. So I want the audience to like walk away and like actually go out and sell more. Even if they're not one of our clients, even if they don't get any of our sales training courses, they're at least going to take something I did there and they can use it and they're like, shit, that works. We get thousands of testimonials even from our free content, let alone our training content.
That's a hell yes, right? That's whatever. Hey, this is absolutely intriguing to me and fascinating that you think and operate that way. I would love to keep talking with you. I made a promise to you because you wanted to go see Dave Meltzer's speak.
Is he almost on?
And so I just want to thank you very much for doing this. I know you have limited time.
Yeah.
Clearly your passion shows through because you learn those niche industries.
Yeah. I love solar, man. It's like I said, it's one of the top 10 industries we train in the world. It's a big industry for us. It's a great product. I mean, projecting its rate hikes, eventually not having to build, I'm crazy.
I'm a fan.
You're a fan of solar. No, I'm a fan. I've trained in some industries and I'm just like, not the industry was bad, but just a couple of the companies, I was just like, I don't know about that. Are they really solving problems or are they just out to make money?
Sometimes they are out to make money a lot.
Well, you got to make money, but in my mind, like the more problems you solve, the more money you make. That's the way it should be, right? If I have a high skill level and I'm able to help people solve problems and get them where they want to be, I should be paid for that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It comes both together.
Because you're saving time and you're saving pain, right? Of course you should be paid for that.
Preventing them.
You've been through it.
Yeah, I'm saving them in your industry, I'm saving them from rate hikes that always happen. They have no control. They're going to pay the bill till they die. You're saving from a lot of stuff. It's a good industry.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I think a lot of the salespeople in your industry, because I'll ask them tomorrow, like, okay, so if your prospects have problems and your solution solves those, why are so many not buying from you? What's the missing link?
Well, what is that? What is it?
The missing link is not your leads, it's not your prospects. It's not that you don't, read enough personal development or take enough cold showers or, journal enough or meditate. That's not going to help you sell more when the prospect opens the door if you don't know what to say and ask, right? It's not that you don't necessarily work hard enough. I always say, raise your hand if you work hard. Everybody raises their hand. So if it's none of those things, well, what is it? And then it boils down to, it's what you're saying. It's what you're not asking. It's how you don't understand how to use your tone that is triggering your prospects who have problems that you can help to run the other way.
Well, I want to ask you a really hard question then.
Well, hard one.
Yeah.
Roll it out, baby.
All right, here we go. If you have understood how to do these almost on an analytical level, how to create this mindset, do you believe that anybody can sell?
I do, yeah. I've seen it. I've seen introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, nobodies. I've seen people 500 pounds, skinny, purple hair, 1 arm, 6 arms. It doesn't really matter, right? Because it's what's coming out of your mouth. It's the questions you ask that get them to internalize and think deeper and helping find problems they didn't understand they had. It's how you use your tone to get them to let their guard down. That can all be taught. Because there's this myth people are born salespeople. I'm like, well, what scientific study shows that? Is there a DNA sample? Oh, he's a born salesperson because in his DNA he has this string or his blood type. There's no evidence
to learn that.
Of course, because I always say I'll ask them raise your hand if you were born with advanced questioning skills. Nobody. Raise your hand if you were born out of your mother's womb with advanced tonality skills. Nobody. Raise your hand if you're born out of your mother's womb with advanced objection handling skills. Nobody. So what you're telling me is you have to acquire those skills. You have to learn those skills, right? Mm-hmm. It's all acquired.
Yeah. Doctors.
Anyway, nobody's born with sales ability with tonality and advanced questioning. Those are things you learn.
Well, sure, but they have gone through, and I know I'm keeping your time. One more question. They have gone through things in their lives differently than others. For example, someone might grow up in California, another one in Montana, which is a beautiful place, but those are two different atmospheres, areas, one big city, one small.
Yeah.
Surely there's external things. Are there personality types that you think might not be able to?
I'll tell you a funny story. So my first job that I applied for when I was in college, before I got that door-to-door summer job, because they just hired everybody, it's straight commission. They're like, you want? Okay, you're hired. At 300 of you, you're all, see you later. Yay.
Good job.
But I applied to sell cars at Larry H. Miller, and I took a personality disc profile test, and they came back and they said, I'm sorry, you didn't pass. I don't think you're good at sales.
Wow. That's like drafting Tom Brady 100 and
there you go. There you go. So I like that, after a while I was like, yeah, it was interesting. So I don't necessarily, personality types, I think selling is an acquired skill. I've just seen so many people that are so introverted that you barely talk and they're like the top salesperson in their industry. And vice versa. I've seen extroverts that are all talkative that suck.
Yeah.
It's what you're saying. It's what you're asking. It's how you're using your tone. It's objection prevention. How do you prevent objections from happening in their mind? How do I see doubt by using my tone? Right?
Absolutely. So if people love what they heard here, how do they find you? It's not hard.
Just have them follow me on my Instagram account, my verified one, Jeremy Lee Minor, M-I-N-E-R. They can always go to Barnes & Noble. We got a new book. I brought one here. I wanted to give it to you, sign it for you.
Yes,
New
please.
model of selling to an unsellable generation. You can go to barnesandnoble.com to get that. And just reach out to us if you want us to teach you how to sell more of your thing.
I get a lot of messages about SolarCon as it leads up, and in the final days, it's like tons of them. But I would say my number one top message is thank you for bringing Jeremy Minor to this conference.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody knows we have the other speakers coming.
Yeah.
We advertise them all.
Yeah.
But the thank yous are you. And that's
Very kind.
interesting to me.
It must be my double parts on my hair. I've had people make fun of me on my ads. I actually do that.
Do you really?
It's pattern interrupts. So a lot of times you might see me doing an ad on Facebook. We do a lot of ads on social media, and I'll always start with my sunglasses on. And I do that on purpose because I know people are going to be like, that guy sucks, he's horrible. It just makes my ads go viral. So I just do it on purpose, then I take them off because those people they're not going to respond anyways. They're all pattern interrupts, yeah.
Oh, wow. Smart.
There you go. There's a lot of other things I do.
You have more skills than just sales skills. That is a sales skill, I guess.
It's a sales skill.
It's a different
So
kind.
you might see me, magician never reveals all of his tricks. You might see me I'll be talking and right in the middle of the ad and be like, we train 161 industries, including yours, and blah, 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 blah. And what am I wearing today? I think I'm wearing this blue Hugo Boss shirt. Nick, what did he say? And I'll just do a pattern up, then go back in. So I'm keeping their attention.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just doing little things.
Yeah.
You'll see some pattern ups I do up on stage tomorrow if you want.
Have you seen my shoes? No.
Just watch what I do at the very beginning of the tomorrow.
You're going to do
You'll
it?
see a pattern. No, you'll see a pattern interrupt. I'm not going to tell you. You'll see it.
Okay.
But you'll be like, oh shit, that's what he's doing.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you'll see it.
I learned it here today.
You'll definitely see it for sure.
Hey, thank you very much for doing this. We're excited to go see David Meltzer. Can I walk over there with you?
Let's go.
Right.
Let's go, man. Thank
See you later.
Thanks, guys.